So, folks, there's this guy named Matthew Walsh, and Matthew has some spicy takes, to say the least. And before we get too into it, I just want to preface this by saying I watched approximately like 10 seconds of this and laughed really, really hard. So I think you guys are going to enjoy at least a bit of it. But that being said, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Really helps out the channel when you do. So do the things, please. And with that being said, let's dive in. So some context here. There is a lady who has gone a bit viral, and her name is Shiloh Hendricks, and she's gone viral because she called a small child the N-word repeatedly and then was confronted by that boy's father and continued to use the N-word, and the video's really disturbing. And she then cried about it on the internet and has since gotten over $500,000 from white supremacists. When confronted about it, she said, "I just called him what he was." Because she accused this small special needs boy the N-word for, she claims he tried to steal from her bag. And so, it's one of the most blatantly, racist things I've seen in a while, and this happened in my home state, and I feel disgusted by it extremely. It's really, really gross. So, I wonder what Matt Walsh has to say about all of this. Clearly a paragon of reason and understanding. After all, he is the ultimate woman understander.
Today on the Matt Walsh Show, major controversy over a viral video of a woman using a racial slur at a playground. Now the woman has raised over $500,000. Is this evidence that white supremacy is alive and well in America? Or does it show us something else? Well, I'm going with something else, and we'll talk about it. Also,
but of course you are, dude. Fuck. No, it's anything but racism, actually. About the video of a lady doing maybe one of the most racist things you could do, one of the most overtly racist things you could do. God.
Trump announces a plan to reopen the prison island Alcatraz, and Democrats...
Yeah, we're going to skip this to just him talking about this.
You may have heard the name Shiloh Hendricks. Up until last week, no one outside of her friends and personal acquaintances knew she existed. Now she's at the center of one of the more intense social media controversies that we've seen in recent years. And it all began in the late afternoon on April 28th, when the woman we now know as Shiloh Hendricks took her young child to a park in Rochester, Minnesota. And at some point, a black child, reportedly 5 years old, tried to steal something from...
A black child, reportedly 5. What? Why did you clarify it like that? Oh, was he a particularly large 5-year-old? What? Was he intimidatingly big? Oh, what do you... Oh, were you gonna card him? But then you were like, no, he's... obviously, I don't need to card him. He's too large. What are you talking about?
Her diaper.
Yeah, the young adult 5-year-old.
Shiloh apparently responded in anger, and as the story goes, she called the boy the N-word. Now, a man named Sharmaki Omar, a Somali immigrant and not the boy's father, allegedly witnessed...
I don't know if he's going to show the video. Oh, yeah, he does. Okay.
This altercation and decided to pull out his phone. And the resulting video has gone extremely viral across every major social media platform. Here it is.
You call him the child? you talking
Did you
about?
call the child the word?
None of your business.
It is my own business. You call him a Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?
You
Okay. All right, that's what you say.
You don't go digging through people's you dumb.
Nobody digging into your
A little kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a
Yeah.
The little child?
What if he acts like one? He's gonna.
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call a child, 5-year-old, and the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
I don't give a
Huh. Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you.
Now, before we continue with the story, which takes several more twists and turns,
Several more twists and turns. What we have here is like a piece of shit white lady whose response to a small child doing what small children do. Like children who are 5, 4, and children who are, have mental disabilities in some way. I believe that was the case with this 5-year-old, unless I got some bad reporting. But like, they don't have a strong sense of personal property when it comes to like stuff that isn't theirs. Like kids will like grab a candy bar. They'll like walk up and like grab like a random adult's like trouser leg and then like, walk along with the, like they'll look up and like realize, oh wait, that's not my mom. Like that's a thing that kids do. And responding to it while you're on a playground with your own children by going to racial slurs is bizarre. Like that's some deeply fucked up behavior, right? That's racist as fuck and disgusting. And like the fact that then she just kind of like glorifies in it on camera when confronted, like it kind of shows what kind of a person she is. That what's at play here is just out and out racism. Yeah, it's actually quite normal for that kid's parent to be like, "Hey, why did you do that? You know that you're doing hate speech, right?" Like even in the video, like he's clearly upset that his child just got called racial slurs, but like he's like, you know that's hate speech, right? Like what why did you do that? And she just says that, oh, that's what he is. And the fact that this then provoked people to give her over $500,000 because she decided to be racist, virulently racist, not just like a little, like virulently racist. And she was claiming, oh, I need to raise money because we need to move because people found out, my name and where I lived. And, I need to move and get a different job. And like trying to plead about the fact that, well, I have a family, like I need to do all this. Like, I'm sorry, but like, the fact that people decided to reward her behavior with $500,000 deeply troubles me, Yeah, like, there are consequences to your speech. There are consequences to going out onto a playground and, like, calling children slurs. Like, and frankly, like, this is a deeply sick scenario. And it is going to encourage other people to do the same thing.
we should note a few things. First of all, we don't actually know for sure that the boy is 5 years old. That's coming from the man filming, who is apparently not related to the child. In the video, we appear to get a glimpse of the kid, and from the glimpse anyway, he definitely looks older than 5.
Man, I love that Matt Walsh is like, that kid could be 6. That he's pretty big for 5. I don't know. I think I still need to see his ID in case he wants to buy beer. Like, what are you talking about, man? What are you talking about?
Omar has additionally claimed that the boy is autistic, which we also have no proof of. And we have no footage of the actual encounter between the kid and
Okay, so he's autistic. Okay. So again, he's autistic, an autistic 5-year-old who like went into someone's bag. Like, I don't know, like the proper way to deal with that is to just like go to the boy's father and be like, "Hey, your son took something out of my bag. Can I have it back, please?" Like you explain the situation like you would to an adult. You know, you don't go and yell slurs at a small boy.
This woman, did she scream the N-word in his face? Did she mutter?
Oh yeah, what are the circumstances of her deciding to say the N-word? Like maybe she said it in a super classy way. Maybe she said it like very demurely. You know, a very demure N-word usage. Yeah, that would definitely make it better. Although one thing working against you, Matt, is frankly that she is then on video just saying it over and over and over again with no compunction whatsoever about doing so. It wasn't a cute look, I have to say.
It under her breath? Did she say it about the child after he'd already run away? We don't know. And as far as I've seen, we haven't heard.
I love how he presents this as a bunch of unknowns. Honestly, and I know I bring this up a lot, but like this is giving me flashbacks to the time that Matt Walsh defended a child molester by saying that, you know, if his child was molested, he doesn't know that he would call the cops. So that's just something to know about Matt Walsh. Worth noting.
Haven't heard anything from the boy's parents. We don't know where they were in all of this, if they were even there, which is very strange. So there are many aspects of this story that are bizarre and unconfirmed. And
yeah, by the way, in case anyone's like, "Oh, but Jack, you need receipts." Just to note, the post is still up on Blaze Media. The Duggars aren't hypocrites, progressives are. And let's just roll this down here. I know I'm opening myself up to some serious criticism here, but let me be honest with you. If my own son, God forbid, came to me and admitted to doing what Josh Duggar did, I don't know that I'd immediately run to the cops. Would you? Is it really that simple? The decision to have your child arrested as a sex offender would be an automatic thing for you? Really? I guess I'm just a horrible person then. And, yeah. If my child came to me and admitted to to molesting 2 of my other children, I would report that to the police immediately. So I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't really trust his takes on what it is and is not okay to say to children, considering that particular piece of his backstory.
And here's another disturbing detail. The Somali man behind the camera, Omar, was charged a couple of years ago with sexually assaulting a minor. And according to
citation needed.
To the local news channel KTTC, those charges were dismissed. A separate report by the local ABC affiliate.
Oh. So he was charged, but then the charges were dismissed, meaning he was never convicted of anything, meaning there was not sufficient evidence to determine that he did that. So nothing. Thanks.
Elliott adds that the charges were dismissed, quote, in the interest of justice, whatever the hell that means.
That means they didn't have the evidence to prosecute it. Like it clearly. You know what? Sorry, he referenced the news site. Let's take.
But charges were dismissed. Charges were dismissed.
KTTC. Here we go.
This is KTTC News.
Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm Olivia Pronzinski in for Brock. KTTC is continuing to follow the latest after a video reportedly shot in a Rochester park.
I'm sorry that I can't do anything about the subtitles there. Oh, maybe I can. Wait. Ha ha ha! Font size. What? That's the. How about X? That's the largest okay, fine.
Went viral last week involving racial slurs against a child at a park. Rochester police actively looking into the video showing a woman holding a small child making racist slurs in reference to another child at the playground who she claims had taken something belonging to her child. The person recording the video alludes to the child being targeted as having special needs. Tonight, KTTC's Ryder Blair spoke with the man behind the camera. Ryder.
Olivia, last week at Roy Sutherland Park, Shamarke Omar says he noticed a woman yelling racial slurs at a 5-year-old African-American boy, and he felt it was only right to defend the child, record the incident on his phone, and post it on social media. Now, Omar says he and his children are receiving death threats for what he thought was an act of justice.
If it was my child, I would want somebody else to stand up for him.
On the evening of April 28th, Shamarke Omar says he started recording a now viral video of a woman shouting racial slurs at a 5-year-old special needs boy.
I thought she was going to deny it and walk away. When there was a video and she saw that I was recording, she doubled down and even tripled down now.
With a child of his own on the spectrum, Omar says he felt he was doing what he thought was right.
If nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to have to do it. I don't have to ask permission, or should I do it or not, for anybody.
A woman who has identified herself.
Dude, he seems like a good guy. You know, I would want someone to stand up. Like, if I had a kid, I would want someone to stand up for him. You know, if he was getting called slurs, like good on him. Like you want to embarrass someone like this so that they walk away from the playground. Because they could genuinely be a threat to the children there. Like, if this lady's willing to call a little boy slurs, what else would she be willing to do to harm a child? You know?
Shiloh Hendricks has crowdfunded more than $430,000 as of Friday night with a goal of $1 million to protect her family after she says her personal information was released, asking, quote, help to assist in protecting my family. I fear that we must relocate, end quote.
I don't know what to say. It's mind-boggling. I don't know. I thought she was going to get punished for this, but apparently not. She's getting rewarded.
Meanwhile, the Rochester branch of the NAACP has showed its support for the child affected by also crowdfunding more than $150,000 in donations by Friday night with a goal of $250,000. Omar says he and his family have received death threats.
He's been threatened, and the rest of the kids also have a death threat against them.
To the 15,000 supporters who have donated to Hendricks' fundraiser, Omar says this.
Living with hate, you know, it's very stressful. And it shortens your life. So being happy and welcoming is the better way. Change yourselves.
A point that has made the rounds on
Holy fuck, what a good dude. Jesus.
Social media in discussion of this incident that we do want to disclose is in 2022, Omar was charged with 2 sexual assault charges, but both have been dismissed. We have made ongoing efforts to contact Hendricks to report on her side of the story, but we have yet to receive a response. Live in the studio, Ryder Blair, KTTC News.
Oh, we're good. We don't need dogs. I mean, we do, but not right now. Okay, so like literally no information about the charges, probably because he was charged. They were found to be completely without merit, and then subsequently dropped and sealed so that like it wouldn't besmirch his like name. Considering that's like if you are arrested for that, that's probably going to be damaging to you as a person, even if there's no merit to the charges. Hence why Matt Walsh is doing what he's doing right now.
A separate report by the local ABC affiliate adds that the charges were dismissed.
You know, I just worth pointing out that Matt Walsh is fine with his own children being molested. Just throwing that out there. He wrote that himself, so I don't know. That seems to have more merit to me that Matt Walsh is a danger to children than like charges that were dismissed. Just throwing that out there.
Just, quote, in the interest of justice, whatever the hell that means. But whatever it means, now Omar, who was previously charged with sexually assaulting a minor, is at a playground with his camera.
Hey, Matt Walsh, aren't you someone who has literally said that adult men should have sex with children because they're more fertile? Am I recalling that? Just Matt Walsh, fertile. Let's see. Huh. Hey, here's a Media Matters post from 2022. Deleted Matt Walsh blog post calls the concept of adolescence a modern plague. Interesting. According to a version of the blog post stored in the Internet Archive, the Daily Wire personality argued that virtually every culture has its own child into adult initiation, and almost all of them happen significantly before the 18th birthday. In his 2013 blog post, Walsh, who has helped lead a right-wing campaign of harassment against children's hospitals providing life-saving, gender-affirming care to trans youth, and who has previously slandered LGBTQ people as groomers, wrote, "In modern Western society, we've delayed the onset of adulthood, instead inventing a new sort of human, the teenager. The teenager exists in this limbo which we've created. We call it adolescence. Adolescence is a state-of-the-art modern invention like crack cocaine or chemical warfare. Adolescence isn't a product of brain chemistry, it's a product of our expectations. If we expect 23-year-olds to act like they're 13, then we will get just that. For thousands of years, 13-year-olds were expected to act like they're 23, and those expectations were met. At about 16, you're an adult who is mature and can make decisions. You are that at 16. I don't care what anybody says. And if you're going to tell me it's different, well, then how come for the first 10,000 years of human civilization, that's the way it was? It's just recently where all of a sudden we're all rapists until we're 25? Or perhaps that it might also be the R slur. Cool stuff. Anyway, it's not rapists. Okay. We're talking R slur. All right. Which, by the way, the reason he's saying we're all R slurs until we're 23, or sorry, 25. My bad. Didn't mean to misquote him. The reason he's saying that is because it would be wrong to have sex with an R slur because they can't consent. But, if they're 16 and adolescence is completely fictional, he thinks it's totally okay to have sex with children. Anyway, so that's Matt Walsh's stance when it comes to how seriously he takes sex crimes against children. He, in fact, encourages them. But, go off, King.
Out filming. So make of all of that what you will. So there are quite a few details that still need to be filled in here, but the saga continues anyway. What happened next is quite predictable. The social media mob went to work. They set out to identify this, at the time, anonymous woman and ruin her life, or worse. Here's one of the guys who got things kicked off. Watch.
God help us. She claims that other child took her son's belongings. That's what kicked this off. The guy who recorded the video is familiar with the other child. When he brings his children there, that child and his siblings are often there and play together. The kid she's going after has autism. He doesn't behave in a neurotypical way. And even if he didn't have autism, nothing he could have done would justify her calling him slurs and pursuing him physically, which is what she says she was doing before this guy intervened. He said after he stopped recording, she sat down, hurled more slurs, told him and his wife that they should leave the country, and then got on the phone and acted like she was calling someone to come down there and handle things. Fortunately, no one came, and eventually she packed up her child and left. But this woman is a danger to children. She doesn't need to be on a playground or around other kids. And she has at least one child of her own, which is also concerning. So Rochester, Minnesota, someone do me a favor. Take a close look at her
And they are pursuing charges of some kind, which is great. Good. She should be charged.
tattoos. You can see her face clearly. Someone please tell me who she is.
Okay, so she's a danger to children. She shouldn't be allowed at playgrounds. She should.
And Matt Walsh knows a thing or two about being a danger to children, having led a campaign to dox and bomb hospitals. So, you know, good. He knows what he's talking about.
Shouldn't be allowed at playgrounds. Not the guy that was charged with sexually assaulting a minor. But he says, please, internet, find her.
Hey, you know, again, those charges were dropped. And Matt Walsh, who's the one who is on the record as talking about how it's totally fine to have sex with 13-year-olds because they act like they're 23 if you expect them to? Who's the one on the record about that when it comes to 13-year-olds? Matt?
And countless others joined in. And in some cases, they were calling for the woman to be imprisoned for saying a bad word. Watch.
Share. I'm trying to find the
Wait. Real talk. Matt, people aren't saying she should be imprisoned for saying a bad word. It's harassing and using hate speech against a child, physically pursuing said child on a playground. Like, that's, you know, attempting to intimidate other parents on the playground you went through. Like that, those are things that are, at the very least, bordering on criminality, if not outright criminal in nature. Like, it's not just saying a bad word. Like, if you say the N-word, and I know this might be controversial, if you say the N-word just in public, the police don't come and don't come and arrest you. There isn't, in fact, a language police, at least not yet, in Trump's America. And that's not the main issue. It's relevant to the main issue because this woman is a virulent bigot and racist. But, like, the main issue is the intimidation and threatening nature of her actions towards a 5-year-old child, and how that makes her dangerous to the wider community.
woman who called the little boy the N-word, the 5-year-old little boy, artistic boy. She needs to be found and locked up. So please tap in.
Now, there are many other videos of people hoping that she would be found and physically assaulted or killed. Some were even threatening violence against her baby that you can see in the video. Here's one example.
He said, hey, TikTok, I just got a real quick question. So we all know what happened with Shiloh Hendricks and how she got all this money, right? Off all the wrong reasons. But you know what? It is what it is at this point, right? So I'm just sitting here thinking, what about the baby? What about the baby? Because technically that baby is going to grow up and be part of the Triple K. That baby might grow up to be Hitler. That baby is going to grow up and probably be the worst of the worst out there in the world. And you know what? I don't want that baby policing children that look like me. I don't want that baby growing up doing anything else that to people that look like me, all because it was taught that. But since, unfortunately, CPS is not going to be able to do nothing, what should we do? I think you guys should let me know in the comments, because part of my thinking was, start a GoFundMe, you know, raise about $1 million, go slap the hell out that baby, make that baby brainless or something for a while. At least it still get to live. I mean, it just might be a you know, but hey, that's what happens when you grow up with racist ass parents. You gotta eat their consequences.
Now,
yeah, I don't think the solution to this is doing violence against a baby. Like I don't think that's the solution here, obviously. But also, everyone involved in this story is getting death threats. Everyone involved in this story is having their children threatened as well. Like we just watched that news report about Omar's family, and how his children are getting death threats. You know, notice that, by the way, that despite the fact that Matt Walsh referenced the reporting that we watched just now, not just now, but like a few minutes ago, he's not mentioning the fact that like Omar's kids are also getting threatened. That's really interesting. You know, I just think that it's an interesting thing for him to omit.
I would say that encouraging people to beat a baby unconscious is worse than saying a bad word to a child, a lot worse.
I think physically attempting to follow and slur a child on a playground is actually a lot worse than anything people just say on the internet. Actually, like I think that's actually like a worse thing, because I'm just gonna throw this out there. I don't think that guy has the ability to make a GoFundMe that gets like $1 million for him to slap a baby. Like I don't think that's actually like a feasible thing, as opposed to that woman was definitely physically present following a child and calling him slurs, and then defending said slurs by saying more slurs, and then attempting to threaten other parents on the playground. So like I think that that's actually worse for a lot of different, very obvious reasons.
And yet there's no mob forming against that guy or the dozens of other people who hit like on that video. So this is all unfolded as you would expect up to this point, leading to the predictable news that the Rochester...
No, but people... Yeah, I'm not saying it's good to like go on the internet and say you want to slap somebody's baby and slap its brains out. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying that's bad. But I am saying that like the worst thing here is like the physical intimidation and threats towards like other parents on a playground when someone's physically present and is clearly deranged enough to yell slurs at a child. Like that's clearly like that's a more like immediate threat than like some guy on TikTok saying that he's going to hypothetically raise $1 million to slap a baby.
The police department is now actively investigating the woman, and others began calling for CPS to get involved and remove her child from the home. For example, there's a guy we'll put up on the screen who wrote a letter to CPS, which he published on his website, claiming again that Shiloh's a danger to her own child and that the child should...
Well, wait, she is. Any person who's going onto a playground and for any reason calling other like little boys slurs, they are a danger to other people's children at the very least. Like that's not something someone who's safe to be around does. I'm sorry. Like, does Matt Walsh think that like his kids should play on a playground where someone is yelling racial slurs? Where like someone's walking through it yelling racial slurs at another person who's holding a camera? Like, does Matt Walsh think that his like 5-year-old should like be yelled at by a random stranger and called slurs? And followed? My guess is Matt Walsh is at the bare minimum a good enough father to recognize that that is a danger to his child. Though, again, that is a real stretch considering he wouldn't even report the sexual assault of his own children to the police. So, you know, maybe that's too charitable to him.
Should be taken out of the home. And pretty soon, with thousands upon thousands of people whipped into a pitchfork mob, she had been identified by name, but not just her name. Her phone number was posted all over the internet, her address, her social security number, her alleged places of employment. People were calling her phone and making death threats and then bragging about it openly. Again, so far this story is following the script that we all know by heart. A random person is caught on camera doing something rude or offensive. The video is posted by some third party, usually somebody who wasn't even involved in the incident. And then thousands of sociopaths set out to destroy the person's life and possibly get them killed, all for sport, as a form of like sadistic entertainment. Nobody stops to think about...
I mean, it's less for entertainment, I would imagine, and more for like some kind of justice to occur in the situation. Largely because, hey, people don't like racists. Most normal people don't like white supremacist trash. Most normal people think that the Ku Klux Klan is fucking weird as shit and disgusting. Normal people think that, Matt Walsh.
The consequences, there's no consideration of proportionality. saying the N-word to a child in a moment of anger is bad.
But not sociopathic. It's bad, but like, I mean, come on, who hasn't? Am I right? Like, are you kidding me, Matt? Are you fucking real?
Is it so bad that it warrants the total and permanent destruction of a person's life? Is it?
Look, hey, Matt, if you want to try this out, say the N-word on your show. Say the N-word on your show, Matt, and see how fast you get fired. Because no matter what kind of job you have, people don't want to work alongside racists. And you know, because you work in media, that if you said it on camera, your career would effectively be over, even in the far-right circles you inhabit. Because it would tarnish the brand of the place you work irreparably. You know that. And it would tarnish the brand because people don't fucking like racists.
Is it so bad that they deserve to have their physical safety and the safety of their family put in jeopardy? Is it so bad?
Yeah, I mean, if it's not that bad, he should say the word, right? Prove his point.
That they deserve to have their child assaulted? Is it that kind of bad? Now, to the social media mob, the answer is always yes. It's always yes, that is, provided that the offending stranger fits certain parameters. And the most important parameter is that the person, the offender, is white. And we all know how this script ends. The offender, in a desperate attempt to...
Wait, no, the important thing is, like, who it's being said to and what the context is, right? That's the important part. The important part here is that it was said to a child on a playground by an adult who is following him. That's the important part here. The important part is not, oh, the worst word ever was said and the universe must explode. Like, no, that's not it. It was used to intimidate a 5-year-old, you fucking freak.
To call off the dogs, tearfully apologizes and begs for mercy, a mercy that they surely will not receive. But that is where the M. Night Shyamalan twist ending comes into play. Because...
M. Night Shyamalan, I guess a guy who really likes racists, question mark? Why are you invoking M. Night I know he's doing it because of the twist, but like, dog, keep his name out of your mouth.
Shiloh Hendricks did not apologize. Instead, she posted a crowdfunding campaign on Give, Send, Go, where she doubled down and defended her actions and asked for help to relocate and get her family to safety. And then a double twist.
Hey, also, just throwing this out there, that's not a twist. Also, you're not going to be able to move sufficiently to be able to avoid that detection. Like, you can move, of course, but like, people are going to want to know what your history is. You're never going to escape that, like the fucking fact that you did that on camera. Boldly and brazenly. A racist doubling down is not a twist. It's like the oldest story in the book. And like, she's just like there's no, her life is effectively ruined. And I only hope that she sees that and gets charged with something sufficient. Because like, fuck that. This is all so disgusting.
A different group formed to counter the outrage mob. They started donating to her campaign, and she surpassed her original...
Also, Nidot, I don't believe that Matt Walsh put his peen on coworkers' shoulders. That of course, was Stephen Crowder.
...funding goal in less than a day. Within 3 days, she had earned over $500,000. Now she's somewhere north of $600,000. So the woman who was supposed to have her life ruined by the mob is instead on her way to potentially becoming a millionaire. Now, this twist, as you can imagine, has outraged the outrage mob even more, but a large number of prominent people on the right are also horrified by this turn of events. Just as one example, Colin Wright tweeted, "The woke right is now mirroring the woke left's tendency to glorify and martyr immoral degenerates solely based on shared racial identity. This woke one-upmanship is a race to the very bottom."
I love, by the way, that Elijah Schaefer is just like, we won because an open racist raised more money than a black guy.
Many conservative influencers and commentators, many of them who I like and respect, have echoed this.
By the way, Elijah Schaefer is a guy who thinks that nukes are fake. Like, literally fake. So, and is also a raging anti-Semite. I did a whole video about it. I actually have done multiple videos about that. I love that, like, Matt Walsh has nothing to say about those things, but, like, you know, like, it's totally fine to call a small boy the N-word.
This sentiment. They say that, you know, the people donating to this woman are behaving no better than the left. They say that this is the right's version of the Carmelo Anthony fundraiser that also raised $500,000, even though he stabbed somebody to death, which I hope we...
Yeah, no, Holly Hoomst is 100% correct. Elijah Schaefer thinks that nukes are fake because they're Jewish magic. And I'm not exaggerating. That's true.
We can agree is far, far worse than saying a bad word. Some have even speculated that this whole thing is some kind of psyop meant to delegitimize the movement and make conservatives look racist. To that, I must assure them, despite how it may seem, that not everything is a psyop. There are things that really just happen in life. Some things do just happen, and I think this is one of them. Now,
but not trans people. Trans people don't just happen. That, you know, just some things like racism. That's something that just happens. Can't explain that.
I understand that some people on my side feel, to put it scientifically, icky about this whole thing. I understand why they feel icky. I understand why they don't want to
do you? Because I get the distinct impression you approve of her actions. Like, there has never been anything that this Confederate flag wearing motherfucker has done that would convince me that he opposes calling black people the N-word. And if you're wondering why I said Confederate flag wearing motherfucker,
well, the next presidential election is coming up pretty darn soon. And heck, all the hooting and hollering can get pretty overwhelming at times. That's why all you need to do is remember, in 2012, it's time to put a Republican back in the White House. Yeah, we've fooled around with these Democrats long enough. Time to come on back to the GOP. You see, the GOP has a long history of being righteous, freedom-loving, principled public servants. To show you what we mean, let's take a little walk through history. You see, the first ever Republican president was none other than Abraham Lincoln. He believed so much in states' rights that he sent hundreds of thousands of federal troops into sovereign states and just started killing everyone. Until, that is, they agreed to not leave the Union. Lincoln was so adamant about states' rights that he would kill to keep states from leaving because he wanted there to be as many states as possible that he could give rights to. The more states, the more rights. Well, that's just plain logic. After Lincoln, Republicans continued their tradition of supporting liberty and freedom. Like during Reconstruction, when they turned the South into military districts and put them under martial law for a decade. As the years progressed, Republicans continued to be stalwart defenders of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Like when we Republicans supported prohibition in the 1920s. After all, folks should be free from having to decide what kind of beer they're going to drink when they get home from work. All we Republicans really need is a glass of tomato juice. Tomato juice don't come in different flavors. They're all just a bunch of tomatoes. We had some good years in the 1900s, but only when a Republican was in office, that is. Only when there was a man of true character, like, say, noted Republican Richard Nixon. You know what? Just a plain old honest guy. You gotta respect that. Of course, now that brings us to the great Lord Master Reagan himself. Lord Reagan was a small government conservative through and through. He was so into shrinking government that he grew it by 90% during his time in office. He did.
I don't know if we should watch the rest of this, because I think the most important part is that Matt Walsh defends slavery. Matt Walsh was defending the Confederacy. Like, this is for his Matt and Crank program back in 2011. Because Matt Walsh used to be a radio shock jock host, so he was doing comedy. You know, the hard-hitting comedy of defending the Confederacy and slavery. Super, super cool. Anyway, here's just a little thing from 2010. From again, this is from Media Matters. Just a little thing about this from the Matt and Crank program. You might notice that this shirt is very interesting. The man in that shirt is Matt Walsh.
What are you guys doing?
Show prep! Get out! Leave! Close the door! Bring me...
That's Matt Walsh in with a Confederate battle flag on his shirt. Casually wearing it.
Pancakes!
You know, I get the feeling that he doesn't have a whole lot of compunction about saying the N-word. There's just a hunch I get from his comedic genius of wearing a Confederate battle flag and, you know, criticizing Lincoln for ending the Confederacy and also defending a woman who repeatedly called the child the N-word. So,
condone saying racial slurs to children. I don't want to condone it either, and I don't. And nobody really does. But I think they're missing the point. You know, I don't think they understand what's actually happening here or why. It is, in the end, a net positive that this woman has raised $500,000. I'm glad she has. I hope she raises $1 million.
I hope she raises $1 million. She did a real service by calling that 5-year-old autistic boy the N-word.
I will not be joining with some of my conservative friends in wagging my finger at her donors, and I'll explain why.
I don't want to condone it, but I do want her to get $1 million for doing it. If you think that someone deserves $1 million for something, you're condoning it, no? Like, that seems like it kind of goes hand in hand.
First of all, she does have a legitimate need for the money. The mob is truly trying to get her killed. I don't believe that a woman should have her life threatened for saying a word, even a bad one.
Unless, you know, that woman is working at a hospital that serves children, right, Matt? Unless that hospital or the hospital workers are women who provide gender-affirming care, right, Matt? Because you have a history of leading groups of people who want to bomb hospitals and threaten to do so often, Matt. Piece of shit.
And you can say freedom of speech, but not freedom from consequences for your speech all you want. But if losing your livelihood and having your house burned down is a consequence of your speech...
Wait, her house didn't burn down. You also don't know that she lost her livelihood. You know, it's really interesting here that, like, you started out this segment by saying, like, alleged 5-year-old, but now you're just straight up saying, oh, man, this woman might not ever be able to work again. Oh, man, her house might burn down. Like, it seems a bit weird, right? Seems a bit strange, no? Also, again, if this is such a triumph of over public opinion, Matt, just say the word on your show.
Then you do not have free speech. Supporting free speech means supporting someone's ability to speak without having their family murdered for it.
And I support Matt Walsh's right to speak and say the N-word on his show. I support that. I want to see him do it. So I support it so much. I want to see him do it. I support that. And you know what? I support it. And his family shouldn't be murdered for it. I support that. I don't think that's free speech, actually. Yeah, I mean, actually, free speech is just free from being censored by the government. It's not freedom from consequences of your actions. And also, let's be real clear here, Matt Walsh is absolutely fine censoring any speech he doesn't like. It's a double standard he has. He would love to wipe out every single book about transgender people, every single medical resource, every single DSM. He would love to wipe it out with the push of a button, and he would. Because he's not a free speech absolutist. He's a fascist. And a liar. And someone who at the very least supports pedophilia. Or it did at one point in his life.
Okay, I mean, that should be pretty obvious. Second, more importantly, and this is the part that I really need everyone to stop and think about. This is the most devastating attack on cancel culture that we have seen, possibly.
That counterpoint, that doesn't mean anything. Cancel culture is not a thing. Cancel culture is people reacting to what you say negatively because what you said was objectionable in some way. That's cancel culture. It's just people reacting in a critical or negative way towards something you said. That's it. There's not a movement of people who are pushing cancel culture forward. That's not a thing. These people just don't like the fact that, for example, people remember that Matt Walsh said it was okay to treat a 13-year-old as a 23-year-old for the purposes of, having sex. He doesn't like that people remember that. To him, that's an emblematic of the cancel culture. But that's just the fact that, people don't like that. You said it, and people don't like it, and they remember it, and that's inconvenient for you, Matt.
Possibly ever. Shiloh Hendricks has, without really trying, effectively ended cancel culture. As Mark Dice said in his video about the incident, Shiloh is the final boss of cancel culture, or maybe rather the final boss that cancel culture has to fight. And I think that's right.
That's so interesting because that makes no sense whatsoever. At all. People are going to continue to dislike the things you say and make it known that they dislike it. There are going to continue to be consequences for the things you say. That's just how living in a society works, because you have to socially interact with others in a society.
And this is the part that many conservatives seem to be missing. All they see is that this woman said something bad and is now getting rewarded for it. The whole thing is so unsavory that they can't help but recoil. And yeah, it is unsavory. You wish that Shiloh had said or done something that we could affirm.
I mean, it's worse than unsavory. It is racist and dangerous to have someone who is I mean, seriously, just real quick. If you replace, even if you replace the slur with something else, like stupid, if you had an adult going on to playgrounds telling children they're being stupid and following them around, that would still be disturbing. That would still be grotesque. Right? The racism and the slurs are just an added layer on top of what is already a deeply, deeply troubling situation. On top of that, and I'm just going to throw this out there real quick. Somehow you're a Matt Walsh viewer. If you found out that Shiloh Hendricks was a trans woman, if Matt Walsh found that out, I think he would have a very, very different take on this entire story. I think that he would have a very different take on this story. Because I think for Matt, this is an issue of, reinforcing white supremacy. And I think that he would take the opposite stance if Shiloh Hendricks was trans. Because I think ultimately all he cares about is pushing his agenda. I don't think he would ever be saying this if, that element of this was reversed. Because he's just a piece of shit like that. He doesn't care. And the vast majority of his audience doesn't care either. Because a lot of them are pretty okay with being racist. Yeah, if Shiloh Hendricks was trans, he would probably be advocating for her to be shot. I'm not even really exaggerating there. He'd probably be he'd probably be in favor of that TikTok he previously criticized.
Affirmatively defend, that would be much easier. Nobody wants to affirmatively defend cussing out a 5-year-old, even though I don't think the kid's actually 5. But
yeah, because 5-year-olds can't be large.
None of that is the point. The point...
What's the comment section like? I'm sure it's a fucking Klan rally in there. The only demographic that isn't tribal is finally joining the club. I don't really care what kind of person Shiloh is. I'm sick of double standards. I'm sick of being told I can't be conscious of my race while every other is allowed to openly advocate for theirs at the expense of mine. I hope she gets $1 billion. I'm just going to respond to that one real quick. Hey, fellow whites. Just real quick. Hey, it's me, a white lady. And I'm here to tell you that, being white isn't a thing. Okay? Because I'm not actually white. This might come as a shock to some of you. I am Swedish and Norwegian, a little bit German, a little bit British in my ancestry. All of those things kind of mixed around. Predominantly Swedish and Norwegian, though. And I have traditions in my family going back to Sweden. And that connect my family with Swedish culture and Norwegian culture. We talk about tomtes, and we talk about the little red horses that are painted. They're really cute. I like them. It's that is culture. That is heritage. That is a thing I can look back on. I can see my family history going back. I can see that mostly potato farmers, mostly farming veggies and grains and such. And then a couple of them seducing kings. But that's my heritage, right? And it's actually not white. Because when I think of white, there's no culture attached to that, because there's no country of white, if you are, under the racial umbrella of white, you could come from Sweden, Norway, Denmark, England, Ireland, France, Belgium, Spain. There are a lot of different places you can come from and be white. But your culture is from those places. It's not from the color of your skin. And so when we're talking about I'm sick of being told I can't be conscious of my race, you can. It's just that's not an important thing about you. The reason blackness is important to African American people is because white people commodified them and treated them as slaves in this country for hundreds of years, denied them personhood, intentionally tried to destroy their culture, because before they were here, they were in all kinds of different places and they had a rich panoply of different cultures. A lot of our ancestors tried to wipe that out. And so African Americans have had to rebuild a cultural identity. That's why a lot of African Americans just identify as black. You know? Because in our society, African Americans have developed their own unique culture. Right? And or developed like really sophisticated methods to like reconnect with cultures they were separated from. And again, when we're talking about like Asian people in America, for example, there's not that means a lot of different things if someone's Japanese versus Vietnamese. That it's from where you came from, where your ancestors came from, what cultural traditions you inherited. Right? It's not, oh man, I can't be conscious of my race. You can. It's just not, if you're white, it's generally just not a very important aspect of who you are. Because it doesn't convey any information other than like your skin color. No one's stopping you from celebrating your Irish pride in America. No one's stopping you from celebrating your, Greek pride or your Swedish pride, your Norwegian pride, your Danish pride. Like no one's stopping you from going to like cultural festivals. Chances are your nearest city has festivals like that all the time. I go to a yearly Greek festival and it has some absolutely banging food. Okay? So like, no one's stopping you from celebrating your culture, your heritage, or your history. But when you shout about white power, or oh man, I can't talk about my white race, like you don't. It's because it doesn't mean anything other than you think you're better than other people because you're white. That's the main piece of information it conveys about you. That's it. So I hope that clarifies some things here. But like, some of these other ones are just insane. Clear sign of black fatigue. Rest in peace, white guilt. Racism isn't the problem, it's the race. Yeah, I'm sure Matt Walsh's, again, clan comment section here is, it's pretty bad. It's pretty fucking bad.
Is that the only way to put an end to this routine, the routine where the outrage mob mobilizes and assembles to destroy somebody's life, is to disincentivize the routine. And the only way to disincentivize that behavior is to reward the person who's being targeted. Now, we can complain all we want about the mob tactics and how they silence and punish people and exact vengeance in wildly disproportionate ways. We can condemn it. We can write think pieces about it. We can deliver monologues. None of that matters. None of that will stop them. The only thing that can stop them, the only thing that will make them think twice about doing this again, is if they know that instead of getting their target canceled, they might accidentally make them rich. And more important even than the money.
That's right. We want people to be free to be as racist as possible. We want people to be free to put up those no Irish allowed signs. Like, what are you talking about, you dipshit?
They must know that their attempt to
they have to look. The only way we fight racism in this country is by raising money for racists. That's the way we stop racism, guys. Like, what the fuck are you on about, Matt?
Isolate and ostracize somebody will fail. That for every person condemning the targeted person, two more will rally to their defense. The motto of the cancel mob for a long time has always been, make this person famous. And a lot of them were saying that about Shiloh. Let's make her famous. Now,
mission accomplished, I guess.
Assumption is that the fame will have an exclusively negative effect on the person's life. Making them famous means making them
No. We meant infamous, which is when you make someone more than famous.
Unsafe, making them bankrupt, making them persona non grata. With this case, that assumption has been flipped on its head. Because now the mob knows that making them famous might help them more than hurt them. Rather than the fame being punished, it's rewarded. That's the only way to stop this. The making them famous tactic now has a...
I love that his concern is enriching this woman so that other people will be emboldened to be racist and face zero consequence for it. You know, like that's his plan here. Like the way he wants things to play out, the system he's putting forward here is, hey, let's raise a lot of money for racists. Therefore, if somebody wants to cancel you, they won't, because that would just mean you get a lot of money, which in turn just means you can be racist. Hooray! Yeah, the solution to racism in Matt Walsh's world is just let people be racist, because Matt Walsh is a racist. He doesn't think it's a problem.
A powerful disincentive attached. Think of it this way. Justine Sacco is widely considered the patient zero of cancel culture. Back in 2013, she was on a flight to Africa when she tweeted jokingly that she hopes she doesn't get AIDS when she gets to Africa. And when she landed hours later, you're probably familiar with the story, she discovered that her tweet had gone viral across the country. The mob had made her famous, and she lost her job. She was cast out of polite society. Her life as she knew it was over. And our culture, as we knew it, had also been changed irrevocably. Now, I wish that somebody had started a crowdfunding campaign for her all the way back in 2013. I wish.
Yeah, because then you could get in on the grift, say the N-word in a TikTok, and be a lot wealthier than you are now, right?
Wish that while half the internet was trying to wreck her life over a dumb joke, the other half had made her rich. I wish people had donated $500,000 to her. I wish they donated $1 million. I wish they donated $50 million. And that's not because I think an AIDS joke is worth $50 million. It wasn't that good of a joke. It's not because I think that Justine Sacco is some great hero. It's because that would have destroyed cancel culture in its infancy. The entire incentive structure around this online left-wing version of mob justice would have been broken right at the start. If they made her famous and she profited from the fame rather than being ruined by it, then the make her famous tactic would have died right there, and that would have been the end of it. But it didn't die there. Instead, the mob was emboldened. Mob justice worked out really well for the mob nearly every time for the next decade and a half.
Let's be clear here. Matt Walsh is supportive of mob justice. Just as long as he and, you know, the white kind of people are in charge of the mob. You know? He's not actually against cancel culture. He likes cancel culture. Again, it's why he led people to do bomb threats against children's hospitals.
Now that's finally changed. And you don't have to like Shiloh or agree with her choice of words to see that. Speaking of her choice of words, there is another point that I think has to be made here. The mob that tried unsuccessfully to cancel Shiloh Hendricks was far, far more outraged over Shiloh saying the N-word than they were over Carmelo Anthony stabbing somebody to death. Indeed, many of them actively supported Carmelo Anthony murdering Austin Metcalf. They rewarded him financially for it. And this is all part of the preposterous racial double standard that has defined American culture for generations now. It is a double standard that declares it a greater crime for a white person to say a word than for a black person to kill a white person. In fact, killing a white person could even be a just punishment for saying that word, according to these standards.
You know, I like how his evidence for this is one TikTok of a guy with no ability to actually carry out that threat. And like, again, he also saw the reporting of death threats towards the guy who filmed it and his children. And it's just like, this is a racist piece of shit. Just, you know, this video could just be replaced with every single sentence of his being, please let me say it. Please let me say it. Please. Please let me say it. I want to say it so bad. Please let me say it. Please. Please. Please, please, please let me say it. You know, like just over and over again.
Money for Jack boop de boop de boop oop de dee bop BWA shimps.
Hannah, thank you for the £9.99. I appreciate it. Thank you very, very much for supporting the show with some much needed BWA. Appreciate you. And look, all I'm saying is, Matt, you have every right to say it on your show. You can say the N-word. You just seem to not like the consequences. But clearly, this is a way of getting a lot of money and attention. And, well, you seem to want both here for people to be able... Put your money where your mouth is, Matt. Literally. Just say it on your show. After all, you do believe in free speech, and, you know, the cancel culture mob has been defeated by Shiloh Hendricks. So just say the word, Matt. Daily Wire is basically done now. You can go from being Daily Wire guy to being, I don't know, Stormfront guy. I'm sure they'd welcome you with open arms.
The rules surrounding this word, the moral weight granted to it, the arbitrary guidelines drawn around it, it's all nonsense. It's all indefensible on both moral and intellectual grounds. People are fed up with it. That's what you're seeing in this story. People are just fed up with it. Now, that child, if he's like the average black child in this country, did not hear the N-word for the first time from a white woman at the park last week. Okay? He's no doubt heard it thousands of times. He likely hears it every day. He probably hears it in his own home. Are we supposed to believe that he's heard the word 1,000 times, but it's time 1,001 that really traumatized him? I mean, the idea that the word is a common greeting for one race, but unspeakably evil if uttered by a different race.
That's not the case. Also, black people aren't using the hard R towards each other generally. And also, again, because of the history of the word, it's a bit different for especially a white lady to go up to a black child and use the hard R. Like, that's especially heinous. Yeah, when he's talking about it, he's like, oh, they're saying it all the time. But, like, they aren't. They're saying with the soft A, which is a different word. You know how that... I know this might be difficult for some people to understand, right? But I'm gonna do my best here, okay? You know how when you add letters to words or take letters away from words, it changes what the word means? You know, is anyone familiar with this? The fact that you can, like, you can do that. It changes the meaning of words when you change the component parts, the letters of said words. You can actually almost do like a magic trick and transform it into a different word. Well, a similar thing happened when it comes to the N-word. You know, because you have the ER ending, which makes it mean one very different, almost exclusively racist thing. And then you have the A ending, which makes it mean a very different thing. You know, I know this is a complicated issue for racists to wrap their heads around, but I do think they might be able to manage it if they try hard enough.
Is laughably ridiculous. The idea that one race can say the word 10,000 times a day.
Yeah, like when you have woe to men and it creates a biological male. That was good, Liz Galahad.
And the other race cannot speak the syllables under any circumstance, even if they're just repeating what someone else said or singing along to a rap song. That idea, again, is totally indefensible, which is why no one has ever tried to defend it. Instead, it's just yet another, racial rule of the road that we're supposed to follow without ever asking any questions about it or expecting anyone to explain it or justify it. People are sick of that. It's just that simple. They are sick of it.
Also, you know, Matt Walsh really cares about this Justine Sacco case or Sacco case. Just real quick, she's doing fine. Like she has a new communications job. She's doing fine. She made a tasteless joke. She lost her job because she literally works in PR communications, and her company did not want that PR heat. She lost her job, and now her life has gone on, and she has a new one, and she's fine. You know, like Matt Walsh acts like these people who got canceled suffer for like their entire lives. No. The New York Times reached out to her like 2 or 3 years after she got canceled, and she refused to be interviewed and explained that she has a new job, and like she doesn't want to be in the spotlight again, and like that's fine. She's doing okay.
Now, it is simple. If it's wrong to say the word, then it's wrong for anyone to say it. If black people want white people to not say the word.
Yeah, because context doesn't exist. Exactly, Matt. Because, you know, it's not like language is complicated and changed by the context of speaker and listener. You know, it's not like that changes how communication works. Oh, wait, that's exactly how communication works. Communication is context dependent. And, you know, by nature, nebulous. We are creatures that basically have decided to make random noises in a set pattern that we then are able to use to communicate ideas, right? That's a messy process. And turns out it's also highly context specific. Yeah, and TI, that's true. And I'll just read your comment. To be fair, some black people say there is a place for some white people who grew up in their culture to say the N-word. There's some discourse in the black community about this. And yeah, I don't deny that at all. But that's exactly my point. Like, it's context dependent, right? There are going to be like some folks who, again, because also race is a social construct. I know a lot of people associate it with like the melanin content of your skin or whatever. But like there are going to be people who grow up in certain communities and are recognized as having like the pass or whatever. You know, there are going to be certain people who have the pass in some situations and don't have the pass in other situations because again, it's context dependent. And like the fact that like Matt Walsh doesn't seem to understand that like, you know, maybe he can tell a dick joke to like his friends, but he wouldn't be able to tell a dick joke in, say, in the middle of his marriage vows. Well, maybe not that. In the middle of a job interview, let's do that. I think Matt Walsh knows that. You know, I think Matt Walsh, if you asked him, you know, can you make a kind of a raunchy sex joke to your friends? He might say, yeah. Can you make a raunchy sex joke to, like, you know, your potential boss in a job interview? I mean, you can, but there are going to be consequences for that because language is context dependent. Yeah, Vox Syndicate, excellent example. Just think of how many contexts the word daddy can be used in. Exactly. Because words mean different things depending on the context. Yeah, if your boss is okay with it, which would be a context for that conversation. Yeah, Forlorn79 has another great example. I can call myself queer, and I do, but if somebody screams that at me from a car, I'm going to be afraid. Yeah.
Then they need to not say it.
Matt Walsh is, you know what's really interesting to me, right? And I know that this is just another thought, right? And I know that this segment is already horrifically long. But it's interesting to me that Matt Walsh insists on language fairness, but will simultaneously also say, life's not fair. Get over it. You know? Like, he tries to portray himself as a guy who, you know, just tells it like it is, and, you know, that there's, you know, life isn't fair, you know, grow up, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, be a ruggedly masculine man, or something like that. You know, like, that's what he tries to kind of, like, convey through his show. He's just stating facts. And, but like facts about how the world isn't fair, but fairness should exist in language. Come on.
If you say it, everyone else can say it. Point blank. It's that simple. That's how life works. Deal with it.
It's actually not how life works at all, and we just provided several different examples of how it's not. Media Breakdown, thank you for the $5 super chat. I, for one, am sick and tired of not being able to celebrate my culture. Yogurt is going to be amazing once the culture is done. Yogurt is going to be amazing once the culture is done growing. Excellent. Excellent.
No, you can't do that. You can't say, well, no, we can do this thing, but you can't. Doesn't work that way.
That is actually how life works and context works, actually.
It does not work that way. Well, it did work that way for...
Also, you yourself know that's not how life works because, for example, you could go to your local Klan rally, Matt Walsh, and say the N-word with the hard R, and, like, no one would think anything of it. But you know that if you came into work, stared into that camera, and said it, that you would lose your job because it's inappropriate for work. You know, like that, you yourself understand that's not how language works. It is not a perfectly fair, you know, equal opportunity thing. It is context dependent.
You've hit the nail on the head. He really wants to say the N-word whenever he wants.
It's true. It's true. And Tony Sanfilippo, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. I appreciate it.
A long time. It was indefensible, and it's just not going to work that way anymore. Sorry. And no matter who is saying it, it's not any worse than any other slur or vulgarity. It's not special. The word is not magical. It's not some kind of mystical curse. It's not some kind of dark incantation.
You know what this all comes across to when I think about this a little bit more? Like, this all comes across as like if Matt Walsh existed... I don't know. It's like some kind of conservative commentator from, like, you know, 100 years ago, being like, well, you know, look, there's nothing illegal about a lynch mob. Like, they're just walking down the street like everyone else. Oh, they can't go into a park? Oh, you know, you know, all this cancel culture coming for lynch mobs. Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, this is pathetically racist. Like, just absolutely pathetically racist. Like, context makes words different. Like, you can see it in how language itself functions. When you put a different word in front of another word or after another word, it can change the meaning of the sentence. If you put a comma in the sentence, it can change the meaning because of the context of how the words are arranged. It's like inherent to how language functions that context is important. And that's just if you're looking at words on a page and not even if you're looking at like how language is used in different social situations. This is bizarre to me. And it's frankly infuriating. God. It is like... You know what this is? This is racist pedantry. This has somehow combined two of my least favorite things. Pedantic pedantry and assholish racism, just all combined together. Like, technically it's bad when people have mob mentality reactions to things, and that's actually the worst danger here, and definitely not the harassment and intimidation and threats towards a 5-year-old autistic boy. And also, he doesn't even look like he would be 5. Statistically, 5-year-olds are much smaller. Like, what are you doing? You fucking pedantic prick. In Matt Walsh's case, it's pedantry. That's true. That's very true. Dude wants to treat 13-year-olds like they're fucking 23. Gross.
That conjures evil spirits from the netherworld. It's just a...
Also, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Hey Matt, why are you dressed like a like a youth pastor who's almost certainly going to be front page news real soon after the allegations come out?
Word. It's a vulgar word. It's a rude word. It's a word that I believe polite people shouldn't say for the same reason they shouldn't use any other vulgarity. I'm using N-word right now instead of saying the actual word for the same reason that I would say F-word or C-word instead of those actual words. Those are vulgar words, but that's all. The reflexive, indefensible, capricious, vacillating racial double standards are over. People are fed up with them. They are fed up with the game and they don't want to play it anymore.
And the look is fitting, honestly. The look is fitting. Especially given, again, he defended Josh Duggar, one of the most prolific and heinous sexual assaulters of modern history.
And that's all that this word has become. That's all that our quote-unquote race relations have become. A game. A game with arbitrary rules and incredibly excessive punishments for anyone who breaks them.
Yeah, just real quick. Yes, society and socializing has rules. Like that has always been true. And acting like you just figured this out as like a 40-something-year-old man who dresses like he's grooming a bunch of children at a youth camp, like, I don't know. That's pretty fucking weird to me. Like, wait, what do you mean they have rules? You mean you can't just, like, stand up in the middle of church and shout a fart joke? What? Because there are rules and expectations? You can't just, like, look up at the priest during the Eucharist and say, fuck you, old man? Like, you can't do that? But why not? It's just words. This is a guy who tries to portray himself as, like, a masculine individual. And, like, talk about how children aren't, like, doing gender right anymore. And it's just, like, you don't even understand the rules of the game you play. What if we combine two other things we can't stand, like MAGA phrenology? Science is dying anyway, let's measure... No. I'm not even going to entertain that as a joke. Thank you for the $5 super chat, though. What is the Eucharist? It's the communion. It's like one of the most sacred rituals in, Christianity.
It's like the societal equivalent of a child, trying to walk on the sidewalk without stepping on a crack. Eventually, the kid gets bored with it, starts walking normally again, because it turns out that if you step on a crack, you're not really going to break your mother's back. The rules are fake.
This is an incredible analysis right here. Because, like, he's like, it's like a child walking down the sidewalk. And, the rules are fake. See, nothing bad happens if you step on a crack. And yet, hey, guess what? What about if that child is walking on a crosswalk? Are the rules fake then? Like, are you fine with your child crossing a crosswalk because the rules are fake? Because I think that could result in your child being, like, smashed across the pavement. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, sometimes made up rules in a game might not lead to any kind of dire consequence. For example, you might be playing a word game where you're trying to rhyme. You're trying to, you're saying words back to each other that rhyme. Or because I just watched Game Changer, an excellent show you should all watch. You're naming different pastas. The games. But sometimes there are rules that we just made up that do in fact carry consequences. Like crossing a street. When you should do that. Okay? And if you break the rules of crossing the street, you can die. So, like, what... These examples are not helping you, Matt.
And eventually people get tired of following them.
Oh, are we combining things Jack hates? How about MAGA Scientology? We're going to make a bridge, a big beautiful bridge to clear. I'm very clear, the best people say so. Make THETANS great again.
Thank you for the $5 dono, Paladin. But like, the rules are fake and eventually people get tired of following them. Sure, but like when people get tired of following rules that they think are fake and then they like break those rules, they can die in society depending on the context. And like, I think that's something worth noting.
Telling white people and white people only that they can't combine two specific syllables under any circumstance, it's like telling them they can't touch their head unless someone says Simon Says. Okay? They're not going to play the game forever.
They're not going to play. Like, I'm sorry, how hard does Matt Walsh think it is to not say the N-word? Because he certainly seems like he's making it out to be like a Herculean task to not say it. And just gonna throw this out there as a white person, it's really not hard to not say it. Like, it's not a struggle. And if it is a struggle, fix your goddamn heart. Like, I'm sorry, put in the words, put in the work, and fix your goddamn heart. Now, I know it's really hard for Matt Walsh because he doesn't have one of those, but, you know.
White guilt is the fuel that keeps all this going. White guilt is what convinces white people to follow arbitrary rules that make no sense, to tolerate.
They're not arbitrary rules. They're rules born out of the context of history. You absolute uncultured dipshit.
Even defend a system that's rigged against them with blatant double standards. It's what's compelled white people to acquiesce to a culture that says that, every race can and should defend and root for their own, but white people.
I don't know why it's not reading your comment. I don't mind playing the game of just not being a racist asshole. Winning just means not being a racist, and our reward is a better world, right? Isn't that nice?
And white people only should not be conscious of their race at all. None of it is fair or morally coherent. And
yeah, but you know what? I'm just going to throw this out there. We don't live in a fair or morally coherent world. And honestly, kind of, when you put that expectation onto the world here, one, that seems like a world you regularly try and advocate against. And two, it kind of diminishes the fact that historically we don't have a fair world. It wasn't particularly fair to enslave an entire group of people on the basis of their race and treat them as property, as commodities, for hundreds of years. That wasn't really fair either, Matt. I think, given that people persevered under those conditions, you can maybe, just maybe, manage to make it through your life without having to say the N-word. Like, it's not that hard. It's not difficult.
My contribution to the pool of combined words, Magalet paint over Matt Walsh's Klansman cloak.
Yeah, that's how he got it. That's how he got it white.
The Carmelo Anthony case, where a black teen raked in $500,000 as a reward for stabbing a white kid to death, was, for a lot of people, the final straw. The final straw of many, many straws. It is no surprise that the Shiloh Hendricks case comes on the heels of that. A lot of people online are fretting that this is the beginning of some kind of race war.
What?
But I don't think it's a race war, and it's certainly not the beginning. I mean, there's been a war waged on whiteness for a long time in this country.
What?
So this cannot be the beginning of anything. But it may be the end of something. The end of racial double standards. The end of cancel culture. This is
so your solution to racist double standards is simply reward the racists. What an ass.
an ugly story in a lot of ways. But if history has shown us anything, it's that ugly things die ugly deaths. Now let's get to our 5 headlines.
It's really bizarre to end a segment where you called out, someone saying, like, slapping a baby's brains out, and you criticize them for that, and then you end this entire segment very ominously by saying, ugly things die ugly deaths, in maybe the most ominous way you can possibly summon it. Frankly, that sounds to me like you're making some kind of threat here. Good old Christian love. Exactly, LB. Don't worry, we're done. He has to get off to a youth pastor meeting. Why has nobody mentioned that Shiloh Hendricks's Go Send Go is basically filled with white supremacists? Because, well, people in YouTube chat have been. Because we're going to check it out right now. That's why. Because the cherry on top of this is that, of course, Matt Walsh is defending this entire situation here. How much is it up to now? Oh, almost $700,000. Cool. I've been put in a very dire situation. I recently had a kid steal from my 18-month-old son's diaper bag at a park. Just real quick, what on earth could have been stolen that was so valuable from a diaper bag that you had to call a child a slur? I called the kid out for what he was, because she called him the N-word. Another man, who we recently found out had a history with law enforcement, proceeded to record me and follow me to my car. Hey, you know what's going to be really interesting now? Now Shiloh Hendricks has a history with law enforcement. It's so interesting. Shiloh Hendricks, a woman with a history with law enforcement, proceeded to record me and follow me to my car. He then posted these videos online, which has caused my family and myself great turmoil. My social security number has been leaked. My address and phone number have been given out freely. My family members are being attacked. My eldest child may not be able to go back to school, even where I exercise. Wait, why can't I read this entire thing? Not letting me. All right. Oh, you can give prayer requests. That's so nice. You can let the campaign owner know you're praying for them. Oh. Wait, I have to follow this? I don't want to follow this to read an update. Oh, White Racial Reconquista gave $10. PewDiePie Bridgeword gave $5. Cool stuff.
White reparations for hurt feelings but none reparations to black folks whose ancestors went under centuries of torture and injustice? Surely not racism.
Surely not. Just, you know, a lot of anonymous givers and a lot of dog whistling ones too. Jail usual suspects. People are fed up. Black fatigue. Send the monkeys back. Make white babies. Our race is our nation. Man, if anyone at Give Send Go... Oh, good. You got the QAnons. Where we go one, we go all. If anyone at Give Send Go wants to leak out the identities of the people who are donating gleefully and dog whistling on this post, that would honestly be a great act of heroism. Just throwing that out. Long shot, I know. But there's a prayer button. Did they finally finish the Jesus API finally? Yeah, I guess so. Dog whistles or air horns? Dog horns. So, yeah, this is all terrible. And frankly, the worst people imaginable are empowering this woman and, of course, Matt Walsh. And I despise them. And I hope nothing good happens to them. I hope they stub their toes every single time they get up from the couch.
Riverboat Jack is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, gaming, plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.